All right, welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. Rupert Murdoch and his allies running the world's most powerful conservative media empire have just 4 more days to destroy Donald Trump before he announces a 2024 run for president. And today, the mission intensified rapidly. The New York Post this morning has Trump as Humpty Dumpty, the one who couldn't build a wall, they said, and had a great fall. And the GOP's, or can the GOP's men put the party back together again? That's the cover of the Post. Murdoch's other print powerhouse, the Wall Street Journal, from the entire editorial board, Trump is the Republican Party's biggest loser. That's the big headline from the Wall Street Journal. And from the Murdoch's networks, we heard things like this.
They loved Trump's policies, but they are not interested in 4 more years of a thin-skinned one-termer who didn't endorse well this go-around.
And from the Fox boardroom, where the big decisions are made, the former House Speaker saying things like this.
We lost the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2 years when Trump was on the ballot or in office. And I think we just have some Trump hangover. I think he's a drag on our offices and our races.
So an all-out assault to kill the MAGA king is upon us. We knew it was coming. We pointed out last night in great detail the evidence in what happened in this midterm doesn't really support their narrative, even though they want to push a certain narrative. In this election, again, Republicans were incredibly outspent. After a tidal wave of money came into Democrat coffers, the left was hugely energized on the issue of abortion, which Republicans swore would not be as big of an issue going into the election. They thought it would all fizzle out back in June, July, in the summer. If nothing else, we learned that wasn't true. And if nothing else, we've learned that the American left are brainwashed to expect radical limits on abortion. We know that now. They're willing to go to any length to protect a woman's right to kill an unborn child, even electively, even full term. Anything less than that, we now know they consider an assault on women's health care, and they are militant to protect it. In Montana, red state, Democrats just voted against a bill that protects a child born after a failed abortion. In red Montana, if you try to abort a child at 8 months and the baby survives, the rule now is just set her on the cold steel table until she stops breathing. Can you believe that? Anybody who didn't think Democrats would go nuts over the Dobbs decision, that is who we are dealing with. Wake up. The abortion decision with the Supreme Court leaked and then decided, big deal. On the left, the money poured in this cycle. Abortion and protecting democracy, for as ridiculous as that sounded to Republicans, for as ridiculous as Biden sounded in recent months, always talking about protecting democracy, it worked. Fear. Democrats successfully harnessed fears of a fascist dictatorship where women are baby-making machines. To millions of manic Democrats, it was slow, it was drawn-out indoctrination. It was literally this, with their allies in the press, every single day for months, if not years.
Donald Trump was a clear and present danger to democracy.
January 6th hearings brought up a lot of issues and concerns around people in the Trump orbit.
This Handmaid's Tale agenda.
He's not just the wrong man for the job, but he's dangerous.
And their constituents were dumb enough to empty their wallets to prevent that from happening. And it worked very, very well. And then there's the left wing's assault on corporate America, which also is helping this cause. It's bizarre how large corporations have gone woke in this country, right? It's very counterintuitive when you think about what a large corporation is. Republicans are now realizing it's hard to get support from big business with Trump still in the picture. The swamp's vilification of Donald Trump is costing Republicans in fundraising. It's part of the reason why they got walloped on Tuesday. What we're seeing is basically the largest example of cancel culture we've ever seen. Years of nonstop attacks and investigations have turned an admittedly brash politician whose behavior a lot of people don't like. We'll admit that all day long. But they've turned him into the devil incarnate. The machine worked tirelessly for years to make Trump toxic because Washington needed to protect itself. Washington cannot have populism. The machine is way too big to be held to account by the people it serves. This is their country. This is not your country. Republicans were insanely outspent in this election, and in this old broken down version of democracy, money wins. And now Fox News and the Republican Party are basically through fighting back. Rather than fight the woke takeover of American politics, it's easier to capitulate. It's easier to just dump Trump. We're going to hear from both sides of the debate over whether Republicans need to move on from Donald Trump. We're going to start with political analyst Rick Santorum, who is here with us now. And Rick, it's good to see you. I believe, I'm fairly certain you're in the camp of it's time to move on from Donald Trump. I just want to hear your case.
Well, first off, I think there's two issues here, Rob. Okay. Number one is the issue of trying to get Donald Trump not to announce for president in a few days. And that issue is really directly about the Georgia runoff. If in fact, Republicans win in Nevada, Republicans are at 50, and then the Georgia runoff becomes the decisive vote as to whether Republicans get 51 and control the Senate.
Right.
And having Donald Trump announced a few weeks before that really puts Donald Trump and his campaign in the middle of that race. And I think everybody, at least everybody I'm hearing in Georgia, is pleading with the president not to do so. For the same reason, Donald Trump on the night before the election said that he was not going to announce for president that night, and he was going to wait for a few days so as not to distract from that election. If he wants to maintain that line of reasoning, he should not. And that's the point I've been making. I think a lot of people are making. I think so. I wouldn't confuse that attack with trying to get him not to do something with the overall point, which I agree is also happening with Donald Trump not running at all and saying that he should step aside. And I've made this point over and over. I think Donald Trump has been a tremendous transitional figure within the Republican Party. I refer to him as Moses, and I don't do that as tongue in cheek. I do that really as an example of what Donald Trump has been to the Republican Party. He took us toward populism. He took us away from the establishment Republican Party that nominated McCain and Romney and gave us a party that aligns with our voters and with the values that make America great again. And so I have no problem with Donald Trump and what he's done. I think he's done a great job. The question is he the best candidate to win? I'm interested in winning.
You're worried that he's rocket fuel for the other side, which is a concern that I think I have and a lot of people have. Is that nobody gets the vote out better than Donald Trump for Democrats because they don't have anything nearly as good as how scary they've made him.
Exactly. I mean, look, you can, and your points about what the media's done to him and all the things is absolutely right. And if I'm sitting here as Donald Trump, I would say, it's not fair, and what they've done to me is, wrong. And
it's not fair.
It isn't fair, but life isn't fair, Rob. I mean, anybody think life fair? Raise your hand. I mean, the reality is this is what we have to deal with, and we're dealing with someone who, in dealing with this life not being fair, lost. And in fact, I think the argument can be made, lost in 2020, and the argument could be made it didn't help the Republican Party in 2022, and I think you can make that pretty clearly with not only his endorsement. But let's talk about that, because I do want to push back there a little bit, because I do, when I look at the landscape and everything that we've been studying for the last couple of days and what happened on Tuesday night, I do feel like that they were very, very enthusiastic, and I don't know that it was Trump that was that was all the enthusiasm on the left. I definitely think the abortion leak was a big thing, and then the decision obviously was a huge thing, and I just think their fundraising game is just dramatically better than Republican fundraising game, and money wins elections. Okay, number one, that fundraising edge was in 2022, it was in 2020, it was in 2018. That fundraising edge has been consistent for the last 10 years, unfortunately, between Republicans. That's not new. So, and the graphic you just put up, could you please put up a graphic of competitive races in which Donald Trump endorsed? Take out the fact that he endorsed Kim Reynolds, who was going to win by 20 points whether he endorsed him or not. If you look at competitive races in which he endorsed, the numbers are not very good at all. And in fact, you take some of the competitive races where he endorsed, where his candidates ran consistently behind other candidates who are not, quote, MAGA candidates in these competitive races. There is no doubt. I can tell you in Pennsylvania, for example, we lost the House of Representatives, or very well may lose that, where one vote, where there's a 2-vote swing right now. It's going to how that turns out. This is the first time in 30 years we've lost the Republican House of Representatives, the state of Pennsylvania, And everyone I talk to in Pennsylvania says Trump was just a boat anchor. Why? Because of Mastriano and because of Oz and who he put in place there. And they just tanked the entire ticket. And people are tired of it. People are tired of it messing around in Republican politics, not for the Republican not for Republicans' advantage, but for his advantage. And if you're going to be a leader of the Republican Party, you got to care about the party.
What's his advantage in picking Mastriano and picking? I mean, obviously Oz. I do think McCormick probably would have ran better and probably would have won that seat. And I think there's been indications that maybe he was that his wife helped him make that decision. He wasn't happy about.
Yes, well, yeah. But that's the point. I mean, if you're the leader of the Republican Party, you don't make decisions based upon things that have nothing to do with what's best for the Republican Party. That's the problem.
But he didn't decide who won the primary. I mean, obviously the voters chose Oz.
Rob, let's just be real about this. Mehmet Oz won by 900 votes. He got through the primary at 25% favorable. Donald Trump knew all those numbers before he endorsed Mehmet Oz. Everyone pleaded with him not to do it. And they pled with him also not to endorse Doug Mastriano. But he endorsed him. Why? Because he supported the president on January 6th. He was there, and because he was the greatest Trump defender that there was a rigged election. He had nothing to do with, is he the best person to win? Is he someone who supports my agenda and can win? If those are the reasons he's making decisions to endorse people, fine. But you point to me anywhere where that's why he made the decision. He makes the decision based on fealty to him. And if that's the kind of party that people want, that it's a party that's fealty to Donald Trump, not fealty to the issues that make this country great, that's the rub that people are increasingly upset about.
Yeah, you still got to wonder. I mean, I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of conservatives saying exactly what you're saying right now. It's an interesting argument. You still wonder, can anybody do this any better? I mean, what they threw at that man, at Donald Trump,
I agree.
They threw everything but the kitchen sink, and for him to even still be walking is nothing short of a miracle. And you know damn well they're going to do it to the next guy. It's going to happen. I mean, it's like, can a DeSantis get through that? Can he handle that?
Well,
because DeSantis is going to be Adolf Hitler next. You know it's going to happen. Just like it's no matter who is the guy, they're going to get everything.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I have great sympathy as someone who had the kitchen sink thrown at him many, many times. Yeah. I have great sympathy for what Donald Trump is going through. But that's a reality. And all I can say is I'm not on Team DeSantis. I'm not on a team. I'm not against Trump. I'm just expressing concerns that I'm hearing over and over again throughout the day for the last few days.
We're all
from lots of people all over the place. Yeah. What I'm saying is DeSantis, in fact, did have things thrown at him. You know, he's the one that went after Disney. He's the one that opened. He was the defining person during the COVID lockdowns when he did. And you know what? He won. I'm looking for people who can take on the kitchen sink and still win. And that's what I think a lot of Republicans are looking at, is who can fight the tough battles, who can stand up to the media and win and stay focused. Don't get distracted. Stay focused on the issue and win on the issue instead of picking fights where you don't need to pick fights.
Interesting stuff. Rick Santorum, we appreciate you coming on, giving us
Thanks,
your
Rob.
side. Good to see you.
Bet.